In the newly hollowed-out complex under Tsar, Spitzlittle had set up a bunker laboratory. She was currently utilizing a fabrication rig bought from the Infinigan salvagers. She had the manipulator arm stretching out a textile she had printed, pulling it to maximum tension before breakage. She then sprayed on a layer of bioplastic and hardener. The rig moved a mannequin form into the textile, giving it the shape of Spitzlittle's torso. She touched her earcom. "Nova, put me through to Cammy's secure line. You know I'm against consorting with her." "I know. You state it every time," she said. "Putting you through now, ma'am." The line showed active on Spitzlittle's eye screen. "Hello?" A pink and white hologram appeared in the laboratory. "Hello, Spitzlittle. Is there an issue with my charges?" "No. I'm actually calling about your debt." "My debt? Are you referencing the 'I will owe you' comment when I asked for my charges to visit Kawaru?" Spitzlittle bobbed her ears. "Yes. They are taken care of and actively experiencing the world. I wish to call in my favor." "How much do you wish? I have sizable funds." Cammy stated, "I have sizable funds myself, no. What I want is your assistance." "My assistance?" Cammy maneuvered the cameras in the lab to get a better visual. "You wish for help in one of your tinkering projects?" Spitzlittle bobbed her ears again. "Yes. I need info regarding miniaturized energy storage and insulation technologies. You think the debt I incurred is worth such information?" Cammy strutted around the room, running her holographic fingers through objects. "I do not think my debt is that sizable. What I am making has needs. I need it. You have it, I'm sure of it." Spitzlittle tilted her head in frustration. "I did not want to ask you. I looked through my people's scavenged files. Nothing was suitable. I must make this, and I need your information." Cammy stared at her. Spitzlittle wavered on her feet. "All right. I will owe you back. I need this. You can call a favor from me later. Please. Can I have the information?" Cammy smiled. "Of course. I'm glad to help." Cammy flickered and a dataset was transferred to Spitzlittle's terminal. "Enjoy. Have fun with your little project here." "Thank you." Spitzlittle turned to the terminal and started looking through the records. "Nova, terminate connection." "Already done, ma'am." He appeared in the room next to her. "You're giving her too much leverage. She is not someone you should even be trading with. She is dangerous. I know we've been going back and forth on this for some time now. I don't like her. I don't like them. I don't like the Gallic. I don't like the great arm creatures. I don't like the preservers." She stood taller and looked up at the AI projection. "I barely like you." Novacor shut his eye sets to show himself calming and waved his 4 hands slowly. "I am bound to assist you, ma'am. Please do not take your anger out on me." She turned back to the terminal. "I gotta help me print out these batteries." He looked through the files with his digital mind. Purchasing metals from Kathu now. She looked up at him. "Thank you. I'm bound to my people just as you are. We have to protect them." "I know, and we shall," he said. Satellites aimed away from the testing flats as Spitzlittle readied herself. Several hundred of her family had gathered in the observation bunkers on the periphery, eager to see the matriarch's current pet project. She finished buckling the armor and then slipped the helmet into place. She tightened the straps and made sure all the seals were secured. She reached into the box and attached the 2 gauntlets to her smaller lower hands. Then finally, she picked up her shield and mace. "Raga, Nova, Grendel, you online?" The 3 sent confirmation lights to her helmet display. She looked out around the empty field. She spoke over the comms to everyone watching. "Prototype QRF armor test 1. Protective visors, everyone." Throughout the bunkers, Infinigan put on special-made light protection glasses. Spitzlittle raised the mace up over her head. In native Infinigan, she shouted, "Activate!" The mace began to glow at the end, and then a QRF field enveloped it. Air, shredded by the field, began roaring and emitting flaming white light. Spitzlittle kept one of her eyes focused on the temperature gauge and another watching the battery level. So far within tolerances. She then swung the mace into the ground. The strike against the soil detonated, sending stone and fire spiraling up into the air. Spitzlittle was thrown several meters and she flipped, tucked, and landed on her hands and feet, her two upper arms holding the shield and the still active mace aloft. Striker test success. Still in tolerances. Inside suit temperature is comfortable. Body sustained minimal impact damage. The 3 AI sent green dots confirming everything monitored correctly. She lowered the QRF field as the batteries were near full. She flicked the shield from standard metallic mode to energized. A glowing field enveloped her. Start shield test. The 2 mechs in the distance fired a volley of glancing blows aimed at her outer edges. The small arms impacted and deflected. First volley, survived. Second volley, initiate. The 2 Omega Do fired larger rounds, aimed more central on her shield. The impact struck and exploded out. The dust cleared and she still stood. Heavy volley survived. Test confirmed. Ready for gauntlets. Raga leapt using his jump jets and landed within range of Spitzlittle. She ran towards the towering mechanical giant, firing from beams from her lower hands. The beams raked across him, and the energy deflection of his shield outputted info to everyone's displays. She stopped and looked at the data. Anything without significant power shields would have been cooked with those. I like it. She started walking back to the toppled boxes. Mission success? Anyone disagree? Nova, Grendel, and Raga sent green confirmations. Good. Nova, start production. Send out hiring papers to any Infinigan who wishes to join the Corps. If anyone has any ways to better the suits, send the drafts to my inbox. Yes, ma'am, Nova said, and got to work. Spitzlittle was adjusting tension joints in the prototype a couple days later when Nova appeared in her laboratory. Ma'am, there is a distress call. She sat straight and looked at him. Who is it? It's human. Incoming predicted to drift outside our system. They are under attack and hailing for help on all frequencies. He paused. The humans have gone to war against themselves, and several ships of an anti-Twain faction are en route behind the hailing ship. Spitzlittle stood up. Put everything on display. Alert the Gree. What has Sam or Orbit said? They know of this? Yes, they are for the hailing ship. They are too far out to make it in time, but they are sending ships. The Pozar, a fleet of Craddock, and a ship of dams is coming. But the attackers will overcome the proposed ally before they arrive. We're the only ones in range. Spitzlittle stared at the 3 Oblivion-class carriers harrying the passenger ship in the rift. Ask Grendel and Raga if they wish to help. Prepare the droppers. Our new friends need our help. Aboard the Carpathian, Patricia Johnsdaughter was standing in the bridge with Captain Hallard when a hail was received. One of the officers looked up from her terminal. Sir, several alien ships near the predicted rift point are hailing us. Hallard nodded. She opened the comm channel on the holoviewer. Several alien creatures connected by filaments stared into the viewer. Greetings, humans. You have asked for assistance from anyone willing. We are willing. Hallard looked at Patricia. She nodded and stepped forward. Thank you. The situation is grim. 3 battleships are following us, and we doubt we are going to survive. If you could help anyone who escapes, we would be thankful. The creatures moved their eyes toward her as one. A deal must be struck. She nodded. Of course, we do not have much to offer. We are begging in hopes to even live through the next hour. We wish for it to be recorded that not all of our people are antagonistic. We can and will help you. I hope your people can forgive our past and allow us to help in the future. Patricia looked around the bridge and then nodded at the creatures on the screen. Of course, of course. Any assistance we will be grateful for, and we will gladly record anything you wish to be stored. I must warn you, these ships are dangerous and utilize quark-rending tech. Do not approach them. They will tear anything near them apart. The head of the Forgotten Fleet shut his numerous sets of eyes on his numerous bodies. I am aware of what the Oblivions can do. We have felt their sting 1,000,000 deaths over. Prepare yourselves. We will leave a hole for you to escape through. Do not slow down. There is a planet deep in the gravity well where your people will be safe. Record us. May our deaths free our imprisoned to live amongst you in peace." The Gallic captain terminated the feed. Patricia looked at Hallard. "What the fuck was that?" Hallard shrugged. "I don't know, but we are out of options. I'll head for whatever escape hole they offer." Patricia nodded and looked at the image of the 3 Oblivion carriers behind them, firing long-range weapons through the rift. "I hope we didn't damn more innocents to the void." The Carpathian exited the rift near an exoplanet on the periphery of the Kawaru system. It sped through the gravity well, heading toward Kawaru Prime. 3 Hubu Oblivion carriers exited the rift shortly after. The Carpathian entered a slingshot orbit around the stony exoplanet, gaining speed, the crew hoping to escape and live. As they neared the planet, several hundred small ships, hidden in bore holes on the planet, launched. They created a donut cloud of ships, circling around the Carpathian. The carriers were still closing, and Oblivion craft were exiting the 3 launch tubes. The craft sped across the distance even faster, QRF fields firing up in their destructive halos. The Gallic were prepared. They had nested on that far-off rocky world for this specific reason. Their mission was to ready themselves for when the Armada returned, specifically, to prepare themselves for battling human Oblivion ships. The Forgotten Swarm maneuvered their shielded ships in a protective formation to cover the fleeing humans. On the exoplanet, numerous mining colonies had readied metallic slugs in the empty boreholes and began firing. The planet lit up as the explosions launched the missiles outward into the oncoming Oblivion craft. As expected, the QRF field shredded the slugs into their subatomic components, but in so doing released massive waves of energy. Several of the craft had to immediately turn around and redock to discharge their capacitor systems. The head of the Forgotten Fleet commanded the execution of the 3rd step. A portion of the fleet was held back in the planet and exited now. They swarmed the 3 carriers, harrying them, targeting the entrance to the tubes. The carriers flung up their shields to the maximum they could, but their batteries were already low in preparation of the Oblivion ships returning. The second swarm kept focus, hitting the same 3 small areas at the rears of the carriers. The boreholes kept up their firing, shooting slugs into the Oblivion ships. The front line held as the beams from the carriers fired, further draining their shields. The Carpathian was pulling away, speeding down the solar gravity well. Spitzlittle sat in the personnel shuttle, head down, eyes shut, whispering to her ancestors. Around her, the barely trained Infinigan Corp. Of Kawaru and a battle tribe of Scribbler Knights were lined in 10 rows. Outside, Raga and Grendel escorted the craft. They approached the Carpathian and passed it. It was already en route and given clearance to land near the Tsar and the Gree of Cathu. Spitzlittle and her army kept going. The Gallic parted as they kept onward toward the 3 enemy human ships. One of the carriers lost its rear shield. The second half of the Gallic fleet took advantage and fired into the Oblivion tube, causing numerous ruptures and making it an unsuitable port for the full Oblivions. Several of the forward Oblivion craft swept through into the Gallic lead swarm, attempting to pass through and toward the Carpathian. The Gallic sacrificed themselves to overload their energy systems, causing more of the Oblivion ships to have to return back. Raga broke from the pack and attacked the fully powered ships, his own QRF flaring and sword swinging out. He plunged the blade into an oncoming empty-charged Oblivion craft. The 2 QRF fields met, rippling out in torrents of cascading energy waves. Fire and plasma arced, striking several nearby Gallic and Oblivion ships. Charged radial cascades emanated from the 2, as Raga forced his sword deeper into the ship's field. The ship failed, and Raga's QRF field enveloped it, causing the ship to disintegrate. Grendel lifted his shield and blocked the incoming fire, protecting the ship carrying his first mother. Inside the dropship, Spitzlittle stood up. She looked at her HUD display and noted they were close. "Crunch Cheek, take us in on the nearest carrier. Grendel, make us a hole." Grendel started his approach. Beams and missiles were focused on him, causing a rainbow of colors to flicker through his field. He did his job, though, and pushed closer, breaking into their inner shields. The dropship followed through the hole and opened the drop doors. Inside, the troops charged out into the void, leaping toward the hull of the alien-human ship. Grendel kept forward, tearing a gouge through the shields. On the hull, the army was landing. Spitzlittle was plunging toward the hull, QRF mace full field. The Infinigan gathered around those equipped with the new QRF suits and waited as the hull was ripped open. Atmosphere started venting as the inner hull was breached. The troops held back until it was vacuum inside, and then they entered. Around them, suffocating and freezing humans were falling to the graph-plated floors. Spitzlittle led a contingent through the halls. Doors locked down but were quickly cut through with her mace. In a large room, armored human troops were waiting, hunkered down behind piles of spare plating. Spitzlittle picked up heat spikes on her scanners and motioned for the Scribbler Knights to take plead. The 4 knights charged in, shields in front. Instantly, incoming fire cascaded over them in sheets. They pushed through the heat, bullets, and bursts. Spitzlittle raised a fist, and one of the knights took a knee. She charged forward, up its back, and leapt over a pile of plating with her gauntlets firing. One of the humans was quick enough to turn and start firing on her, but she flashed her QRF mace, dusting him in a wave of fire and plasma. The rest of her continent piled in. 3 Infinigan had been killed as well as the dozen humans. She noted her fallen and then approached a terminal. She looked over at a fellow Infinigan who was lacking the new QRF suits. He, however, was tasked with carrying her parcel. He knelt and removed the backpack. He opened it up and reached in, pulling out an egg-shaped device with dangling wires. He handed it over to the matriarch. Spitzlittle took the device and started wiring it into a console in the corner of the room. After done wiring it in, she touched her comms. "Nova Core, begin assimilation." The AI responded. "Beacon node activate. Transmitting. Ship AI is concurrent model, however underpowered. Attempting brute force breach. Ship AI buckling. Ship AI retreating behind third-line firewalls. Ship systems Clouder-owned." Spitzlittle looked over the ship map on the console. Section after section was turning from red to yellow. She touched the ship's comms. "Nova, am I live?" "Yes, ma'am. You have access to vessel comms." "Greetings, humans. Your ship is now ours. Your AI has fallen. Your invasion fleet is failing. This is your chance to surrender. Please do so now." A human appeared on her screen. He had facial hair similar to Sam when he was in one of his depressed states. She looked him over as he looked over his own monitor. He spoke, a hint of defeat in his voice. "This is unexpected. We bit off more than we could chew. What are your intentions, Xeno?" "I am Spitzlittle, Tarpa lead of Kawaru. You have invaded Clouder space, opened fire on friendly ships, and destroyed several ships of an allied species. I have not intentions other than stopping you from continuing this path of destruction. Beyond that, it is up to the Clouder." The ship's captain looked her over. He then turned and looked at the holomap in the center of his bridge. "We have several pilots near detonation mass. 2 of my fleet's launch tubes are disabled. Allow my craft to dock on board this ship, and we may start to discuss a ceasefire." Spitzlittle muted the channel and opened up the Clouder frequencies. "I need input. I do not know what I am doing here. Is this a human trick?" Nova, Orbit, and Erebus fought to speak first. Orbit won out and answered Spitzlittle a nanosecond later. "Have them stop engines, lower shields, and lower weapons. Order the Gallic to pull back and put Raga and Grendel on the hull of the other 2 ships with weapons hot. Hold them until the Veritasium arrives. Dam is aboard and en route from Sparrow. He should be there within 2 hours." "Understood." Spitzlittle opened up the human channel. "I need you to power down your shields, your engines, and your weapons. I will be landing 2 of my mechs on your other 2 ships. I've ordered the surrounding fleet into a stationary orbit at a safe distance. We're going to wait here quietly and peacefully. Is that understood?" The captain looked around his bridge at his helmspeople. "It is understood. Powering down now." Spitzlittle had her men repair the hull breach in the section and fill it with atmosphere. Nova had isolated the onboard AI, locking it in a server room near the cargo hold. The 3 human ships were rendered impotent. She opened comms to the Gallic fleet. "Head of the Forgotten Fleet, answer." "I am here," it replied. "What are your intentions? You appear to have been lying in wait here to attack us for some time." "That is true. We were put here to ready for the second wave. The second wave, however, is not, nor will it ever come. Your demons scattered the Armada, and I am now head of the Forgotten. We seek asylum, as we have recorded several of our compatriots have done. We merely hope our effort in this battle has earned us refuge." Spitzlittle was simulcasting the exchange back to Kawaru and the Gree. "You are correct. We are currently learning to coexist with your people. Some of your harsher family members are imprisoned, some are still giving resistance on the surface of Kawaru Prime, but some have taken the path of parry and are working to build a life in the Clouder. Is that something your fleet wishes to pursue?" "My people are starving on this mining world," the head of the Forgotten said. "Our bodies are near depleted. This effort was a last chance, and I am throwing my people at your mercy." The Gree of Farigi spoke up on the Kawaru channel to Spitzlittle. "We of the Gree have conferred. The Forgotten have an established mining facility on that outer planet. We have ample Felix herds and can spare enough to keep them from starving in the meantime. We have 3 Gree seed willing to create habitats on that planet as an outpost for the Clouder. We offer them as potential points of rehabilitation for the humans, as well as a farming outpost to help care for these Gallic. The 2 species are conflicting, and should help keep both in check." Spitzlittle bobbed her ears. "Such an endeavor would require Senate approval. This whole thing requires approval, but we are broadcasting it through the networks now. Thank you for the offer, Farigi. Thank you for keeping my seeds safe. They are just as much my children as yours," she said, and opened comms back with the Gallic. "We are putting plans in motion. For now, help us keep these humans contained, and the Clouder will discuss sending aid." The head of the Forgotten replied, "We will continue our assistance here. We accept our fate, no matter what your people decide.